Well, here we are again, folks. Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. We're going to dig on into chapter 11 right now. It said, "Cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days. Give a portion to 7, also to 8, for thou knowest not whether evil shall be upon the earth. If the clouds be full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. And if the tree fall toward the south, or toward the north, in the place where the tree falleth, there it shall be. He that observeth the wind shall not sow, and he that regardeth the clouds shall not reap. As thou knowest not what is the way of the Spirit, nor how the bones do grow in the womb of her that is with child, even so thou knowest not the works of God who maketh all. In the morning sow thy seed, and in the evening withhold not thine hand, for thou knowest not whether shall prosper either this or that, or whether they both shall be alike good." Now, we see to and fro here, to and fro, a conundrum. He said, everything is going to boil down right now to Solomon in his mind and what he sees and everything. Everything's going to boil down to the vanity and the vexation of just being a live person in an evil world. Now let's look, 7 and 8. He said, "Truly, light is sweet, and a pleasant thing it is for the eye to behold the sun. But a man live many years, and rejoice in them all. Yet let him remember the days of darkness, for they shall be many. All that cometh is vanity." Boy, all that Solomon could see here in this particular period of time in his life, at the end here, he could only see all vanity, because he had missed the mark when it came to seeing the salvation of God through the sacrifice of the animals, the very temple that he built. Would it be possible for a man to build a large temple and die and go to hell? Yes, it would, because he could miss what the temple was about. He could see the building, the glories of the building. He could see the gold, the silver, and all of the stuff, and miss what the contents were all about. He said, "Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth, and let thine heart cheer thee in the days of thy youth, and walk in the ways of thine heart, and in the sight of thine eyes. But know thou that for all these things God will bring thee into judgment. Therefore remove sorrow from thy heart, and put away evil from thy flesh. For childhood and youth are vanity." You see what he's saying here? That everything is vanity. But he's saying here, and he said something right here that he hadn't been saying before. God will bring thee into judgment. God will bring thee into judgment. He said that there in verse 9. He hadn't said that before. Now in chapter 12, he said, "Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth." Wow. He's crossing a new bridge. He's crossing a new bridge. He'd been over here dwelling on the evil, on going in, perishing into hell, perishing into vanity forever, and vexation of soul and spirit and body into darkness, and living there forever and doing all of that. And those were great mistakes that he was in a depression. And he was in a great depression there, and we hear him crying out of that depression. Now let's see what he's saying here. He said, "While the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain." we got two things going on here. He's talking about the youth of a man as well as the spirit of a man. And he never really seemed to come to the grips of it. Let's see what he says in verse 3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong man shall bow themselves, and the grinder cease because they are few, and those that look out of a window be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Excuse me. Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high in fear, and shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the murmurers go about the street. Listen, he's still in this depression. We're still seeing him in this depression. We see a little bit of light, but it doesn't multiply. It doesn't come out. It doesn't work for him. He doesn't gain from it. He said, or over the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel be broken at the cistern. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Well, what he's saying here, though, he's saying it's going to turn back to dust. Who gave the dust was God, who put the dust here, and then going to return back. But listen, verse 9. All is vanity. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yea, he gave good heed, and sought out, and set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought out to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. The words of the wise are the goads, and as nails fastened by the master of the assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. And the Father, by these, my son, be admonished of making many books, there is no end, and much study is wearisome to the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God, keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment, and every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Now, this is a man that wrote many of the Proverbs, and Proverbs are high and low. They're mountains and hilltops. They're valleys. They're crying out for mercy and for peace. They're admonishing God. They're refuting God. They're doing everything that a human being could do. They pull to and fro, and they show that the wisest man here, even though he was the wisest, was not the wisest spiritually. He was the wisest physically. And that is the end of the book of Ecclesiastes. And we have done 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 of these to do 12 chapters. And that is the end of the reading. But we're going to do a couple of summations. And there are 18 truths in Solomon's standards that he gave here. And one of those is eternal generations. He talked about eternal generations. Now we look at eternal generations different. We look at them as saved and lost. And the earth is eternal in one sense and not eternal in another sense. It's eternal up until the day it's cast into the lake of fire. It's eternal in our sight. It will be eternal out of our sight when it becomes in the literal hell in the lake of fire. And a new heaven and a new earth will come from heaven. The sun's circuits will be on that old earth until it is destroyed. And the many things will happen as that earth goes. I have a chart over here that shows right over here, the end right there is the end of the earth going in, being cast away, and a new heaven and a new earth coming on the scene. And that's going to happen right at the end. There's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. And the old one is going to be passed away. You remember we started at the cross over here before we came into the book of Revelations in the New Testament. And that leads up to what's going to happen to mankind and to the earth. And that's what we have in this chart behind us. It's the whole story from the cross to the end, back down there. Well, I feel like that I've been a very in travail. At best, I've been in travail trying to get this book when I have a spiritual aptitude and I read a person here in a depression. I meet people. As a matter of fact, I work with 2 or 3 people on a daily basis and a weekly basis, trying to help them who are depressionists. They're all the time depressed. And I can see in their depression this man Solomon. I can see he's the wisest man but depressed. And if something wasn't happening, he couldn't be happy. And that you're in a depression when it takes something to happen to make you happy. You should be able to be happy whether something's happening or not. You should be able to be happy. Well, this is Brother Pete, and we're going for now, and we're going to come back in a few minutes with another tidbit from the Word.